Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Retro Chat podcast, live and for the first time on the MOS Network.
Yeah. Gotta love
It's
the
awesome.
MOS Network.
We are live as Lawrence, and actually, no, I can't do it. Lawrence, please.
Oh yeah.
Do your normal introduction.
Do the chair first.
Oh yeah. Hang on. Okay, and then ready. We are live on the Information Superhighway. Glorious Wednesday to all. Glorious Wednesday to all. Hello, Lee.
Hello,
What's
Lawrence.
that
Hello, Andy.
Hello, Lee.
hello, Andy. Yeah.
Lawrence.
How you doing, mate? Good to see you.
Wow.
No one can just about do We Are Live on the Information Superhighway quite like Lawrence.
I can do it quite well, actually. Yeah.
T-shirt is available in the MOS store.
Years of doing being a front man of a rock band seems to have served me well in terms of starting off podcasts and making them energetic.
Definitely works. And of course the chair. You've done the chair. That means we're in for a good show.
Yeah.
You know, we're not gonna struggle. We got people in the chat room already.
Amazing.
Bericles. Greetings.
Hello, Bericles.
Welcome, Bericles.
Evening, Bericles.
Head of Steel. Hello, gents. Hello,
Nice.
guys.
Head of Steel. Good to see you, mate.
How are we doing? So tonight, we have got a jam-packed show because it's 30 years to the day, guys, that the 1992 Royal Rumble took place.
Wow.
30 years. That's mad. I mean, it feels like it was yesterday watching this pay-per-view. Again, I think one thing we haven't got in the show plan, Andy, yes, we do have a show plan because we're professionals,
We do.
is kind of the build-up to the 1992 Royal Rumble and what caused this event to happen. Or not the event to happen, but the fact that the WWF Championship was on the line. We'll need to cover that off, absolutely.
You see, I'm glad you said that because that's why I've got a wrestling historian here. I don't need to write it in the show plan because the what happened when dude is here. Not Tony Schiavone, Lee.
No. I mean, much more wrestling knowledge.
Then who? Now, if you're watching us, you are listening to us and watching us live across all of the MOS network on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch, on Trovo, on Twitter, on anything you can think of. And let's just throw some social.
Are we on Instagram?
We are on Instagram as well.
Again, will anyone ever watch us on Instagram? That is the big. I doubt they ever will because it's not even in the right frame size. But we can do it anyway.
They can listen. It's fine.
Yeah. It's just like watching a podcast, but just on maybe just Lee or Lawrence on screen and not me. Who knows?
I think it will be my head probably. That's about it. It's glorious.
I mean, it's kind of like we are live everywhere on the internet right now. Basically, if at the end of Spider-Man: Far From Home, where J. Jonah Jameson takes over every TV network and he announces the Peter Parker is Spider-Man. That's like us right now. We're on every single internet website streaming service that's ever been made. So if you're in front of your phone or your TV or your computer right now, you're watching us. So good evening, world.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, world. Nice to meet you. Nice to see you.
Nice. I need a big playing card. That's what I need.
Oh, yeah, that could be the next quiz. There we go. Let's throw some socials out. If you would like to get in contact with Lee and Lawrence and any of the MOS network, you can do by heading over to Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter at the MOS network. Follow the ministry itself on Twitter at Ministry of Slam, and also check out the podcast every Monday on all good podcast providers. And you can also listen to that on our stream right here at Retro Chat on a Monday as well. And if you're listening to us on Ministry of Slam, that's because we're now on the Ministry of Slam feed every Thursday.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's getting it.
That's
a lot. We're getting about.
We certainly are. Now, if you want to get in contact with us on social media, you can do on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitch at Retro Chat Podcast. You can tweet us at Retro Chat Pod and use the hashtag back in time if you want to join the conversation. Really want to get that hashtag trending in 2022. Not only because this is what we've used on Retro Chat for nearly a year, but because it also comes from one of the most iconic movies ever.
Ghostbusters. No.
Was it? ABBA, the musical.
What, Mamma Mia?
No. Back in Time. Yeah. Maybe I don't know, Andy. What film?
If I could turn back time, that was.
Yeah,
that was from that was who was that? Cher, wasn't it? Singing that.
Yeah.
If I could turn back time.
Sitting on that army ship with a giant cannon between her legs in like some weird lingerie. It was ridiculous.
It's not slightly hot when you're only like 10 years old. You're like, yeah, I think I'm
you two are
discovering
worrying
manhood
me.
right now.
Yeah, you two are worrying me quite a lot.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
These things happen.
Who did not discover their manhood seeing Cher do that turn by time video? I mean, come on. Like, I did.
I discovered it when I saw entrant number 2 make their way to the ring in the Royal Rumble, just like Bobby Heenan did.
Yeah. Sorry, get distracted. Sorry, Andy, you've got me on. I get off on tangents. Sorry.
Lawrence is going to disappear for 5 minutes and watch a Cher video. He'll be back in a minute.
I don't know how to bring this back. I've not done this for like years. I don't know how to bring this back. Let's chat now about the Royal Rumble because Lee, you mentioned earlier on about the fact that the build up to this event was historic because it was the first time that the 30-man Royal Rumble was for more than just nothing really, because it didn't mean anything, did it really?
No, I mean, it was so obviously they had the Royal Rumble in 1988, just as a sort of a house show. They also had 1989. It became a proper event, one of the big four with the WWF pay-per-views. It then, so they had the event in 89, 90, 91, and the winner of the Royal Rumble was just, yay, Royal Rumble winner, brilliant. But it was a nice little angle to get the guys together that you don't see around a lot. So you get like Hulk Hogan mixing with the Barbarian or someone like that who's predominantly in a tag team, and it was just a thing for nice little moments. But late 1991 Survivor Series, yes, Berkeley's, I think it was on TV for the first one. I think it was available in certain locations, but it certainly wasn't a pay-per-view. No. Survivor Series 1991, Hulk Hogan, WWF champion. You then had his challenger, the gravest challenger, it was called, The Undertaker. The Undertaker defeated Hulk Hogan for the WWF championship due to interference from Ric Flair. Now, WWF president at the time, Jack Tunney, was not happy with the shenanigans that went down because Ric Flair got involved and slid a steel chair in the ring. The Undertaker pile-drived Hulk Hogan, or tombstoned him onto that chair, and caused lots of problems. Jack Tunney wasn't happy. Immediately ordered a rematch for Tuesday in Texas, and that's the event that Randy Savage came back from retirement to go against Jake the Snake. Hulk Hogan, again, technically won the championship back from The Undertaker, but it was there was chair shots outside the ring. There was ash from the urn thrown into the eyes of The Undertaker, and again, a screwy finish. So Jack Tunney said, forget it. You've had a couple of opportunities. The title is now vacant, and we're going to put it up to the winner of the 1992 Royal Rumble. First time in history that it had happened. And from that Royal Rumble onwards, the champion was crowned in the 92 Royal Rumble. From the 93 Rumble onwards, they introduced the clause of the winner of the Royal Rumble gets a WWF title shot or whatever it is, championship, that the main championship shot at WrestleMania. So this one really an iconic. It was kind of the first and last time I think the title's been up for grabs in the Rumble.
Well, no, actually, I'm gonna.
Vince McMahon won.
Oh yes, he did. You're right. 99.
Yeah, exactly. But also, 24 years later, Roman Reigns defended the WWE World Heavyweight Championship in the Royal Rumble match, and it was won by Triple H.
Oh yeah.
I don't watch wrestling, so I don't really know.
Yeah, don't watch modern day wrestling. But you've covered on MOS before, guys, Tuesday in Texas, and talked about how storylines were so different back then. They actually meant something. I mean, this was just the era of 4 pay-per-views, wasn't it? Rumble, Mania, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series. So they really did stretch it out, and you were still seeing in this Royal Rumble storylines back from Survivor Series, back from the Macho Man and Jake the Snake Roberts was featured quite heavily in this Royal Rumble. We saw the building up of new storylines such as Sid and Hulk Hogan, which we'll talk about momentarily. But it was the most star-studded Royal Rumble that had been, or potentially has been since then. It had pretty much everybody in it.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, if you look at, absolutely. If you look at iconic wrestlers from the 80s and 90s, every single one of them was in there. I mean, I suppose if you got really picky, you could look at someone like, I mean, maybe they didn't have a Lex Luger or Ricky Steamboat or someone like that. But as far as WWF guys go, it's, really it's got everyone in there, and some interesting, and I'm sure as we get onto the actual Rumble match itself, some interesting kind of rivalries that came from the WCW era were almost rekindled, that just a strict WWF fan wouldn't have realized at the time some of the history there that happened. So yeah,
I mean, bear in mind, this Forbidden Door wasn't even open, wasn't even considered back in 1992.
Absolutely.
No, they didn't talk about the other promotions. Excuse me. Let's look at some stats though, because we are now 30 years from the day that the Royal Rumble first aired. It took place in Albany, New York. It was at the Knickerbocker Arena. 17,000 people were in attendance for this event.
A lot.
And by God, did you hear them?
Oh, yes.
You did. They loved everything. Everything's simple. Things that were simple compared to now, they just loved it. Like anything. Like, someone's just been punched and they went mental. It was brilliant. Simpler time. People weren't distracted by mobile phones and watching live streams.
Like us. You could be watching the Royal Rumble right now, but you're not. You're watching us.
Just a simple thing. They were like, this is amazing. It's great. Great times. And of course, like you said, everyone is superstars, aren't they? Absolute superstars. Brilliant.
Well, let's give you some what happened when, because I'd like to know what you think happened this time in 1992. So first of all, what do we think was the number one single in the UK singles chart on January the 19th of 1992?
I'm going to go for the Bryan Adams Robin Hood Prince the Thief song, because that's what I always say.
In fairness,
Keep the Faith of Bon Jovi.
That was the year after, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, Keep the Faith was 90. No, I don't know, actually. No, it's 92. No, it's when they came back. So he just done Blaze of Glory.
Yeah, you're right.
Get a Grip was 93, the Aerosmith one.
Blimey. I always thought it was Black and White by Michael Jackson around this sort of time.
He was doing the Dangerous World Tour around about this time or shortly after.
Yeah.
Because Lee went to see it.
Yes, I did.
Lee went to see everything. He said, oh, this thing happened. I would see that.
1992 was your year for going to Wembley, wasn't it?
It was. I was there in basically July 92 for Michael Jackson, August 92 for SummerSlam.
We'll cover that, I'm sure, this year.
We will
But what was number one in the singles chart was a band that is legendary within pop culture. The lead singer was a guy called Marty Pello.
That's not legendary, Andy.
It was Wet with Good Night Girl.
That's not legendary. Legendary to a load of old grannies, mate.
Well, now
what your reaction was going to be. That was it. What about the movies charts? What do we think was number one in the UK cinema?
Oh, 92. Terminator 2.
Last Action Hero.
Oh.
No.
It's got to be an action film.
No.
Wayne's World 2.
Close, but no. It was The Addams Family.
Oh, my God. What a rubbish film.
Da-da-da-da. Yeah, with Christina Ricci. That was number one for the third consecutive week.
Wow. Oh. Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Really?
Get live 1992. Go see Terminator 2.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Well, the best one is yet to come, because I know that I did spoil this one with Lawrence, and I know he was so up for it and so excited about this one. The number one album in the UK album chart, spending 16 weeks.
Oh my God! Really?
In the charts was. Can we guess what it is yet?
Oh no, you don't want to. It's awful. I hate this band so much. They're the worst band ever. It's so bad. Oh, there's a few things in life I don't like. Simply Red and Fred Dinage. And Simply Red is one of them.
How can you not like Fred Dinage?
Don't do a retro chat about Fred Dinage, mate. So, or else it would not go well. Sorry, Americans. Have you? Oh, I don't like him. My granny hates him.
I met him in the Spanish Market.
Really?
Yeah. When I was a kid, met him in a Spanish Market, and he was walking around with his wife or whatever it was, or it could have been his daughter because she was a little younger. And yeah, he's the most miserable git you could ever meet.
Exactly, Andy. It's all fake. That's why I don't know why he's been on telly for so long. He was
Welcome
on telly
to our
in 1992.
Retro Wrestling podcast.
Sorry.
Well, we're doing 15 minutes. That's better than normal.
Yeah, true.
The number one album was Stars by Simply Red.
Simply Red. It's awful. I can't stand Simply Red. Sorry. And this isn't me. I absolutely hate Simply Red.
Now to get Lawrence for next Christmas. No Sting bobblehead next Christmas. I'm going to get him the Simply Red back catalogue on.
Just melt
vinyl.
it.
Oh yeah. I'll join you with that. Maybe you'll get tickets for him to go and see Simply Red if they're doing a comeback concert or something.
No.
Maybe we can swap them for some fuzzy ones.
Yeah, maybe. I'll put no. Giving them too much money, mate. You can't. Don't fund it anymore.
So that's what happened back when. But we now hit the card and we hit the Royal Rumble. Okay, and the dark match was Chris Walker. I got no idea who he is.
I remember who Chris Walker is.
Do you?
I've seen a couple of his matches. He came in about the same time as Tatanka came in as like Chris Chavis, he was called at the time. And he had sort of the look like a Griff Garrison, Griff Garrison on AEW. He looked pretty similar to him. Never really went anywhere. He kind of, Tatanka came in. He was just called Chris Chavis at the time with the brown hair and just in normal trunks. And then they slapped the gimmick of Tatanka on him and off he went to the races. Chris Walker, they never really did anything with, despite the fact he was pretty good. He was okay in the ring. They used him sort of as an enhancement talent for a little while. I mean, pre-show match against the Brooklyn Brawler, and he didn't even pin him. He won by DQ. So, very weird.
I've got no idea who Chris Walker is.
No, I'm with you, mate. So even though Lee's trying to explain who he is, I'm still sat there going, no idea.
Everyone Google Chris Walker WWF and we'll have a look, shall we? There he is. Wow, look at that. There you go. Glenn Cohen, better known by the ring name Conan. Chris Walker is an American retired professional wrestler. He's best known for his time with the Global Wrestling Federation when he was one half of the first GWF North American Tag Team Champions. There you go.
And he retired in 1999.
Wow. Really? I mean, what's he been doing since then? Like since the 92 Rumble? Wow.
Well, obviously not much on WWF TV.
No, so it was WWF from 91 to 92. He was in WCW in 93, and then he's moved on to Smoky Mountain. Where else has he been? He's been in ECW, Southern States Wrestling, and then I don't know what that is. So there we go. He did the rounds.
Yeah, this guy might be worth trying to get on for the show.
Yes, Chris Walker. That's what we need on the MOS Network. Let's do it.
If you're listening to this, come on the Retro Chat. I mean, this match was so good that they didn't even record the time that it ran for.
Wow.
It was just NA.
Not applicable.
Yeah, that moves us onto the main card though, and we kick off with a tag team match where it was the New Foundation who looked like they'd robbed Aladdin's wardrobe. Jim the Anvil Neidhart and Owen Hart facing off against the Orient Express, Kato and Pat Tanaka with Mr. Fuji. Ran 17 minutes 18 tag match. This was amazing.
Yeah.
It's a good match.
What a way to get the crowd going for it.
They seem to have a bit of a pattern with the Royal Rumbles back then. Like the year before, they had the Orient Express versus the Rockers in the opening match, and that was unbelievable as well. I think it kind of falls into the WCW think process. Not that it was in place by then, but just sort of get the crowd really hyped up to begin with. Lots of like insane action. So not much storyline coming into this. It was just your babyface good guys against your evil Japanese bad guys.
Evil. They're from Japan. They must be evil.
It was the 80s and the 90s, and Japanese were bad, Russians were
but wasn't
bad,
them
Americans
not
were good.
Japanese?
Well, Pat Tanaka is as American as you get from San Francisco. Kato was Paul Diamond.
Really?
So he was,
That's terrible.
So he wasn't a Japanese or Oriental at all.
Wow.
Typical WWF booking of an Orient tag team then, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Yokozuna, Japanese sumo wrestler. He was flipping Samoan.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, that's the 93 Rumble. We'll get onto that another time.
But how good was it to see classic old school Mr. Fuji?
Yeah, with the cane.
Yeah.
With the cane and the top hat and the suit. And it was just what really got me about this match. I mean, I've watched the Royal Rumble a couple of times since we said we were going to do it. And I know you guys have watched it as well. Was how good Owen Hart was in those early days. I mean, bear in mind, we'd seen him at WrestleMania 5. in '89 up against
Mr. Perfect.
Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig. That's right. In a losing effort. Then he disappeared. Went back to Japan, came and did some stuff in the UK, in Canada as well. And this was his return.
in 1991.
He
For a
did,
short time. Yeah.
For a
Really?
real
Did he?
coffee. Yeah.
I
He
didn't know
wore
that.
this bright orange, similar color to my t-shirt, like singlet, and did some matches
I
in
had no idea about
WCW.
that.
Yeah, crazy times.
See? Surprising what you learn. And then he came back. And Jim Neidhart, of course, could not make it as a singles wrestler to save his life.
No, he was the Giannetti of the group of the Hart Foundation, wasn't he?
Yes. Yeah, but they seem to work really well. Now, obviously, bear in mind the family connection, brother-in-law. But it was the outfit. You couldn't take them seriously dressed as Aladdin's ripoff.
Yeah.
Awful. Shells originally were in fashion.
I mean, this is they were absolutely. They both came to the ring in. I know Bobby Heenan was used to say, "Oh, they dressed as a taxi cab." So
it's very true.
You had Owen and the Anvil. And what's interesting about the new Foundation tag team, again, everyone wanted them to be the next generation of the Hart Foundation. I think the outfits tried to really steer them away from that and try and turn them into something different. But interestingly enough, Jim Neidhart wasn't sort of long for this world in the WWF for a little while. He left the WWF. I can't remember what it was for. There was some sort of disagreement, if I remember rightly. But then Owen started teaming with Koko Beware. And Koko Beware wore the same baggy trousers. And so, I always thought, like, how cool would it be if there was like a 6-man tag team, like Owen Hart, Koko Beware, and the Anvil, all in the baggy trousers?
High energy.
How cool would that be? Yeah, high energy.
High energy. Got high energy. Yeah. That's what he used to do. Koko Beware.
Now, imagine,
that was their song.
Just imagine if they'd come out to Suggs's baggy trousers.
Oh, that would be good. And just dance around in the ring.
No.
That's something to do on 2K22, isn't it? Just customize the theme, do that.
Yeah, we'll make it happen. It comes out next month, or month after. Let's do it.
Yeah. At the moment, that's got to be an MOS arena. Please book it.
Yes, that could work. The 6-man with Jim Neidhart, Owen Hart, and Koko Beware, all in the baggy trousers.
Oh, against who?
Against the 3 months of Demolition.
Oh yeah, that'd be good.
That'd be cool.
Do that. That'd be good.
Or the Freebirds, or someone else with.
Or a can of Red Bull, high energy.
Way.
It's energy versus energy.
It's a bit like the Rush energy drink back in the day. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do remember the Rush energy. I can still taste it. I gag a little every time I think about it.
God, it was awful, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That moves us on to our next match, which was championship action.
It was championship action.
Now, it was Roddy Piper facing off against the Mountie with Jimmy Hart for the Intercontinental Championship. And the story behind this one was Brett had dropped it a few nights earlier due to having the flu and a temperature of about 120, wasn't it? Or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
So it was a really bad flu. He dropped the title to the Mountie. And within 5.5 minutes, Roddy Piper, with a sleeper, became the new Intercontinental Champion and won his first and only championship in the WWF.
It was very good. One of the rare times a sleep hold actually worked.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I mean, that's what a move should have done, wouldn't it? It was a proper finisher where you come to sleep and do the arm drop.
Like $1 million dream.
The crowd went mental.
Yeah.
They loved
so
it.
Do you know the real story behind this match, though?
Go on.
No.
The fact that Bret Hart was negotiating with WCW at the time. Even back then, they thought that Bret might disappear with the Intercontinental belt and turn up on WCW TV. So they made him drop it to the Mountie on a house show. Then they made up the story about Bret having a fever and 104-degree flu or whatever it was. And then they transferred it over to Roddy Piper.
Right.
Just so they could have it back on a main sort of face guy, because they knew Ric Flair was going to be a heel champion. Makes sense to have a face as the Intercontinental champion. And then obviously by the time they got to WrestleMania, which we'll probably get onto at some point, and sort of where everything went after this, Roddy Piper had the match with Bret Hart. Bret Hart had obviously signed a new contract by then, wasn't going to disappear, so they put the belt back on Bret. That's the huge background story.
Don't trust Bret Hart in business, then, it seems.
Yeah, we seem to be noticing a pattern.
Yeah, there is a trend here about
I'm
that.
going to leave there, bored.
Did you guys think at one point though, because they were making such a big thing on commentary about the fact that Piper could literally walk out as a dual champion that night, because he was in the Rumble, he was playing double duty, and at one point you thought he was actually going to win the Royal Rumble, and for a guy who hadn't won any championships in the WWF up until that point, this could have been a history-making night for him.
Long-haired Roddy Piper was my favourite, and he looked quite jacked.
Exactly, yeah.
And bear in mind, he had not long come back from the hip hop, because he'd had a car accident, didn't he, back in 1991, which is why he was on commentary for majority of the 1991 year. So SummerSlam, the UK Rampage from London, and then of course slowly transitioned back into the ring. But yeah, I mean, he was in great shape, and one of the best performances in ring I think I'd seen Roddy Piper.
Even if his he did, and even if his in-ring performance wasn't like to the level of an Owen Hart or a Bret Hart or whatever, he was always a brawler. But the enthusiasm, the character, like when he, we'll talk about this during the match, when he comes running in down the ramp to get in the ring, Ric Flair thinks, "Oh God." He's going to beat the crap out of me. He's got so much energy, and he just launches himself over there, starts beating the crap out of Ric Flair, and the crowd go mental. And you didn't care that he couldn't do, a triple moonsault to the outside of the ring or anything like that. He was a wrestler. He beats people up, and that's what everyone knew he would do.
But to the hardcore fans, this was a dream, wasn't it? Because it was going back to the old NWA days in Atlanta at the Great American Bash and the dog collar matches between Piper and Flair. And it always surprised me. Looking back on it now, I didn't realize it at the time, because, we were what, 11, or whatever. Yeah, all right. Lawrence was a little younger than all of us.
6. No.
Yeah, all right.
8.
I dread to even ask how old Princess Macat was.
2.
In the conversation we had last week.
Yeah.
But, it always surprised me why they never went back and really kind of featured some of those storylines. They had the talent in the ring, and that could have really elevated Piper. Even without the strap, Piper was main event.
Yeah.
But he only played the bagpipes at SummerSlam 92, didn't he? He stopped really wrestling for ages after that, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he lost the belt to Bret, and then he kind of disappeared for a bit and just kind of took a back seat.
Well, didn't they want to try and transition him like the Macho Man and move him into commentary full time?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, he was kind of a leftover from the original WrestleMania era. Obviously, Hogan had disappeared by that point, and we're sort of slowly moving into the new generation period. Of course, beginning of 93, you get Hulk Hogan back, and they start to transition him back in again because nothing else worked. The business was down. Let's bring Hulk Hogan back, and everything will be fine. So yeah, weird. It's Roddy Piper had an interesting career in WWF.
He's one that I think on Retro Chat we'll be doing an in-depth look at Roddy Piper, because he's got such a layered career, from the more serious, real violent NWA run to the ahead of his time early 80s WWF run to the more comedic side of Piper. Then going in, of course, to late 90s WCW with with Hogan again in Alcatraz and Hungary. I mean, this guy could really do it all. He could just turn his hand to anything. I know you guys were lucky enough to speak to him back in the old MOS, and we were lucky, and I was lucky to speak to him as well. Pardon?
We didn't plan to.
I know you didn't. But I mean, he was so charismatic when you spoke to him on the mic. You got sucked into what he said.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely born to be a wrestler,
an entertainer.
Exactly. Yeah, full on entertainer.
Absolutely. So moving on from that, we went into tag team action, which was the Beverly Brothers, Bo and Blake, with Lee's favorite manager, the Genius, defeating the Bushwhackers with Jameson. And this was 14 minutes and 56 seconds. They got a match.
Bloody hell.
The Bushwhackers.
Who was Jameson?
Jameson was, oh God, this was on Bruce Pritchard's podcast. So he was a guy, he turned up, I think, on the Bobby Heenan show back in the day,
right.
In like 1989. He was a kind of a snivelly little guy, basically American version of Mr. Bean.
Yeah.
And I think Vince saw him, from what I remember from Bruce Pritchard's podcast, Vince saw him do a sort of cabaret act at a nightclub somewhere and said, that guy's hilarious. we'll get him on TV somehow. And he would turn up on primetime wrestling as a sort of character every so often in the background. But then they brought him in to be manager of the Bushwhackers, which is
right.
I think just for this feud, really, they were to try and counteract the genius in stuff he was doing outside the ring.
He was kind of he kind of reminds me of an early version of Ralphus.
Yeah, could be. Berkeley said terrible.
Well, yeah, he was. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then the Bushwhackers didn't really have long left in this world, in the WWF at this point.
No, they tried to repackage them, didn't they? With the sort of lighter brown khaki gear, and they had that hongi, whatever the hell that was, plastered all over them. I never really understood what that was all about, but they just tweaked the gimmick a little bit. But yeah, nothing really happened.
In fairness, did anybody really understand the Bushwhackers?
No. You can't walk around and lick children anymore in this day.
Don't lick children.
Yeah,
definitely don't do that.
Hashtag don't lick children.
I think it was a bit dubious back in the day.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't, because the parents would be like, oh, please lick my child. I've come to this wrestling show and I want you to lick my child.
The child was like, please don't lick me.
Give my 9-year-old son a memory he'll never forget. Please, 45-year-old man, lick my child.
And that child,
and the kid would just be like, yay! He's not going to wash his face for years. It's disgusting.
Hashtag kid lickers, says Pericles.
Oh, Pericles, that's disturbing. Please don't make that trend. No. I mean, there's not much you can really say about this one, is there? I don't know how they managed to get a 40-minute match out of Luke and Butch. I really don't.
So, I mean, let's try and see how it's been constructed, because you've got obviously the dark match. We won't count that. They started the pay-per-view with the New Foundation and the Orient Express tag team clinic, people flying all over the place, crowd is excited. Then you've got a match with a bit of storyline with Brett losing the title and the Mountie getting it, and Roddy Piper, people that actually had a reason to fight. It was for a championship. Then you bring the crowd down again with something like Beverly Brothers versus the Bushwhackers. It's messing around. The kids will love it, but if you want to, you can disappear off and get some merch or something at that point. Come back, and then we go on to the next match, which is a tag team championship match, and one that people will actually care about.
Exactly, and that was the Natural Disasters with Jimmy Hart facing off against the Legion of Doom, Hawk and Animal. And the Natural Disasters won by countout in 9 minutes and 24. So there wasn't a title change.
No. This was a weird time. I mean, I think it wasn't that long ago or long after this that the Legion of Doom disappeared for a little while.
Yeah.
And then they had their big return at WrestleMania 8 with Paul Ellering in tow as the manager. So, I think that Vince maybe starting to lose a little bit of confidence in Legion of Doom, didn't want them necessarily spearheading the tag team division.
Which is a strange thing to think about, really, when, again, you look back at what they did in the NWA and the WCW as the Road Warriors and that push that they had when they came in. Even Vince was so jealous of the gimmick, he created Demolition. To rival it. And now they're being choked down the card. But what I don't get about this card, and we'll talk about the main event, obviously the Rumble in just a moment, was the big win, the big match that would have given them a massive pop. Piper versus the Mountie was less than 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Whereas now,
because he was in the Rumble for a while, though, wasn't he?
He was in the Rumble. Yeah, he was in the Rumble for. We'll find out after the break. There's 30 people to find here. Damn it. I appreciate that
Roddy Piper was in there for 34 minutes.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
So maybe they were protecting him, but it just seems like that would have been the what would have made the fans go happy going into the Rumble.
Yeah.
You'd think so. But again, I mean, I think potentially, again, I know that there's been lots of things said about Hawk, and it wasn't too long afterwards there was the infamous SummerSlam 92 story where Hawk could barely stand up, but they got him out to the ring and he performed, but he doesn't remember anything of it. So I think at this time substance abuse might start to have been a factor with the Legion of Doom, certainly in Hawk's case. So they wanted to get their money out of him, stick him in the ring, have a match against the Natural Disasters. Don't let them get pinned because that makes them look weak, but a disqualification, they had the match, keeps the belts on the Disasters. Legion of Doom can disappear for a bit and sort themselves out and, see what happens.
Some great comments in the chat room, which we'll just get to as well. Pericles, how awesome, so awesome how safe the Disasters were with the LOD. Quake gives the most polite power slam on the outside I've ever seen. Gruff, the Natural Disasters were brilliant in my opinion. Such a good team. Really liked them back in the day. And actually, when you think about it, was John Tenter and Tugboat. I can't remember his name.
Typhoon,
Earthquake,
yeah.
and Tugboat.
Fred Ottman.
That's it, Fred Ottman. And the character came in really as a face, just as a bit of a lackey to Hulk Hogan. That heel turn that they did with Tugboat and forming these two really made them go over the top as one of the number one tag teams.
I thought they were cool as well. Marketing a tag team about weather. I mean, everyone talks about weather.
So they should have formed a stable with the Hurricane and the Texas Tornado.
Yeah. Mother Nature, and then some woman like Sensational Sherry could have re-gimmicked herself and been like Mother Nature, and then that's her faction of. And then they could have had Captain Planet.
When our powers combine,
it's of the time as well. Earthquake, Typhoon, Texas Tornado.
Do you know what? I would have loved Howard Finkel to have done a ring announce like that, making his way down the aisle, Captain Planet.
A cameo by Father Christmas, yeah.
Super Ted could be their mascot, says Pericles.
Oh God, where is this show going?
Oh
dear. But they were a phenomenal tag team, and Earthquake, John Tenter was so talented.
Yeah, he was good
in the ring. I mean, great feud with Hulk Hogan back in the 90s.
Yeah, I mean, I was 13, 14 at the time of the Hulk Hogan Earthquake feud, and Hulk Hogan being put out of action for a little while with Earthquake attacking him on the Brother Love show set, and disappeared, of course, actually to film Suburban Commando. But they kept him off TV for a while. Everyone had to send in their letters and get their Hulk Hogan friendship bracelets for Hulk Hogan to come back. But you legitimately believed that this massive guy, Earthquake, had done some serious damage to Hulk Hogan. Hang on a minute. I know this wrestling stuff is fake, but that actually looked real. They seem to be a bit worried here. I think Hulk Hogan is really hurt. And they did such a good job at doing it. Putting that package together about Hogan and the updates that you'd get. And brilliant. Couldn't have done it better. And Earthquake was the man to do it.
Hogan gets a lot of criticism for not being able to work, but he sold that beautifully.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, he was great. That was one of the things he was the best at, wasn't he? Selling how hurt he was.
And of course, don't forget as well, Earthquake being involved in that storyline with Jake Roberts where he squashed Damien.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that was apparently a bag of sausage meat or something that was in.
That's what you still go.
Squirting out all over the place. Yeah, not great. And of course, Typhoon went on to be the Shockmaster and fell through a wall. The end.
That was it. That's the end. That's the other match, didn't he? The War Games match a bit later than that, didn't he?
Yeah, because he came in, as the Shockmaster, the helmet fell off and everything, and then I think he just turned up to the ring in. Do I remember him in like construction outfit, almost like Village People?
Yeah,
really weird.
It's like an early version of the Union, wasn't it? With William Regal. Good times. You love classic WCW. It's brilliant. So,
it's better than what they put on TV now.
It's all right. Some stuff on TV is all right. Yeah.
AEW's. Anyway, we're not talking about modern stuff. That's what you guys do on a Sunday every week, live from 7:00. That brings us on to the main event, which was the 30-man Royal Rumble match for the Vacant Championship. 1 hour, 2 minutes, and 2 seconds is how long this one stood for. And Ric Flair at the time walked away as the record holder for the longest amount of time in the Royal Rumble. So, of course, it kicks off with the man who won the Battle Royal at the Albert Hall.
Did you go to that, Lee?
No, I didn't go to that. No,
I went to that as well.
Lawrence, it wasn't at Wembley.
No, it wasn't. Yeah, I wasn't allowed to go to that because it wasn't at Wembley. It was UK only pay-per-view. I believe you can get it on the network now. The Battle Royal at the Royal Albert Hall. Flair was there. Tito Santana, I remember they had a match. LOD, I think, were there. It was really interesting show. And back in the day where the UK pay-per-views, they'd always make sure the British Bulldog won. There was a Battle Royal, of course. The British Bulldog won the Royal Rumble at the Battle Royal at the end.
To 20-man battle royal, wasn't it, for the Salzadar Cup?
Yes, yeah, Samovar, wasn't it?
The
Samovar
Samovar
Trophy.
Cup.
Samovar
That's it,
Trophy.
Yeah.
The illustrious, as Gorilla Monsoon was calling it on the pay-per-view, Samovar Cup. There we go.
No one had ever heard of it before.
Absolutely not. So the British Bulldog kicked off, closely followed by the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase and Scary Sherry, making her way to the ringside area.
Easiest payday ever. Got all dressed up, walked 100 steps, 100 back, done.
Yeah, that was surprising, wasn't it?
Well, the managers would just walk down. And no, not her. I'm talking about Sherry. No, not him. Sherry just walk down, then walk back. Done.
Yeah.
All the managers just walk down and up. It's funny, isn't it?
They should have made it an intergender rumble.
Yeah,
maybe.
They should have. Bericles with the classic line that Bobby Heenan said. Of course, Sherry with quite a she had a dress on. It sort of had like a corset thing on the front, which revealed quite a lot. Bobby Heenan said, "Boy, look at them."
What split her up from DiBiase and to manage Shawn Michaels?
I think $1 Million Man started. We formed Money Inc. at that point. Shortly afterwards, so they did that, and then Shawn Michaels needed a manager, and they just moved her across, and she was the sort of infatuated with Shawn Michaels.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, as Bericles put in the chat room, she loved Shawn, and then Ted DiBiase let her go, but that was instantly the best pairing she'd been involved in. You know, the Macho Man was a good pairing, but this really worked for the 9 months or 11 months or whatever it was that she paired up with Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
Up until that mirror shot in the ring, which led to the Royal Rumble of '93.
I watched that today, funnily enough.
What, the mirror shot or the Royal Rumble?
I've been working from home, no joke. And I've whilst I'm doing my work here, I sit at this exact same desk with all my figures and everything around me. But I have my iPad on, have it on silent, so I'm watching stuff. And WWE Network have just uploaded a load more of WWF superstars from the 90s. So I started off at the beginning of 1993, and I'm just watching one after the other and seeing some really cool stuff. I saw Doink the Clown smash Crush over the head with a cast and put him out. Unbelievable.
Oh, poor Crush. Poor Crush.
Anyway.
Clowns. They're no laughing matter.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Yeah, just ask the Joker.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
What a film. Anyway.
I haven't seen it yet. 30 men in the Royal Rumble: Ric Flair, Jerry Sags, Haku, Shawn Michaels, Tito Santana, the Barbarian, Texas Tornado, Repo Man, the Hammer, Nikolai Volkov, the Boss Man, Hercules, Piper, Roberts, Duggan, Shyster, Glenn, Jimmy Snooker, The Undertaker, the Macho Man, the Berserker, Virgil, Colonel Mustafa, the Model Rick Martel, Hogan, Skinner, Slaughter, Justice, and the Warlord.
The Warlord.
The only person not in that list was, of course, the Ultimate Warrior, who was not with the company.
Yes, absolutely.
It was stacked, as Bericles says.
Yeah, it really wasn't it? I mean, the amount of Hall of Famers that are in there, the amount of early characters, such as The Undertaker, really getting a real big push on the tail end of 91 at Survivor Series in Tuesday in Texas, as you talked about earlier on, up to some of the more past it characters like the Warlord.
Yeah. I mean, the Warlord, again, he was one of those people who was just absolutely jacked to the gills. The Gruff, who was it Hercules teamed with for a while in the team called Power and Glory? Yeah, Paul Roma. A former horseman. Or not at this point, he would become to be a horseman. But yeah, the Warlord and the Barbarian. Barbarian was a better worker than the Warlord. Warlord was absolutely so stacked he could barely move. Wasn't that great in the ring, but certainly looked imposing. And you know, if you needed a bad guy to beat up on your good guys and get some sympathy, you know, the Warlord was the guy to do it.
He's still working.
Is he?
Yeah, he's not doing much, but he is still working. He's doing the odd match here and there. The Warlord, that is. Not the Barbarian. I mean, this was just amazing, wasn't it? And I think what they did really well with this Rumble was the actual layout of the numbers of the participants.
Yes.
You knew you had the obvious one, Hulk Hogan coming in at 26. You knew you weren't going to get Hogan in the mid. You know?
Yeah.
The Undertaker coming in at 20, Savage coming in at 21. They really were stacking the deck. You here, and then Justice coming in at 29, who I honestly thought was going to win the Rumble.
Yeah.
Because he was on such a push.
They loved him, didn't they? The crowd actually cheered for him when he came to the ring. Unbelievable. I've always thought of everyone thinking Sid Justice is rubbish. But when you watch that, he's actually, people really like him, didn't they? Cheered for him loads.
I mean, Sid Justice came in as a good guy, and it was only a really short run from sort of SummerSlam 91 time through to the end of the year. He was out for a little while towards the end of the year with I believe it was a biceps injury, something like that. So we didn't see a lot of face Sid Justice because he kind of turned around about this Royal Rumble time. But brilliant. I loved Sid Justice. They were potentially, I think, looking at him at the time as a replacement for Hogan, seeing Hogan's star maybe dimming a little bit. Let's get this younger, jacked up guy, and seems to have a bit of charisma. He's got a great look. Let's make him the new Hulk Hogan. Vince always wanted to do that. Like, same we saw it with Diesel and other people that are massive and they just want to be the face of the company.
So Priceless has put a comment in the chat room, and it's a question. They announced all the participants through the intro to the pay-per-view. Question, when did they start doing not naming all the entrants or the surprises? I don't know that.
Berkeley says 96-ish. I think that's probably right. 96, 97, I reckon.
I don't know.
They obviously the 97 one they started filling out with random people like because it was in Houston with the big arena, so they got a load of all the luchadors in there. They weren't announced in advance, and I think at that point, the AAA people, Berkeley says, I think it's around about that time, and it does create an interesting. You don't really get it anymore, do you? With people, even if they're announced, that there's not going to be any surprises, or it's not gonna. There's nothing going to be mind blowing there. But there was a period. I don't know what Lawrence is doing.
I don't know what Lawrence is doing now. I'm just trying to work out what Lawrence is doing.
Sorry, my USB came out of my microphone. Can you hear me all right?
No, I can't. It's something's changed.
Testing.
You're not being heard through the microphone. You might have to change your settings so we can hear you through your thing.
Testing.
No, mic's not on.
Okay, hang on.
Right, you guys continue. I'll sort that out.
We'll continue. We will continue. So, it's you just can't get that anymore. But there was a good solid period where part of the fun of the Royal Rumble was about sort of 8 to 10 people that weren't announced, and you knew they were going to be sort of names from the past, or people debuting, or people that had jumped from the opposition. And WWE had really worked hard to try and make a good show of that. And you can't really get that anymore because everyone knows everything because of the internet.
Well, who knows? You might get Cody Rhodes at the Rumble next Saturday.
True.
Testing.
True.
Is that better?
No. I think when you unplug the USB, it will have changed your settings on
this
something. Yeah, potentially. Cody's on Dynamite tonight. John Moxley returns on Dynamite tonight as well. We were debating that on Sunday, so we'll find that out. Yeah. Okay, so microphone settings, says Berkeley's. So anyway, interesting combination of people, but they were all announced prior to the show happening. And Vince McMahon did the classic intro. We forgot about that, where he does he runs through every single person in the Royal Rumble with a little graphic that comes up across the screen. That was so old school, it's ridiculous.
It's time to rumble.
It's time to rumble.
That's better.
That's it. There you go. Lawrence
is back.
Sorry. That was weird.
That was weird. But he's back now.
Chair and everything.
Sorry?
You did your chair change and everything.
Sorry,
and
Andy.
Still had a problem. Oh, I'm sorry.
If you hadn't done the chair, I could have understood it. The bad luck. So,
well, at least action figures haven't fallen off the shelf.
No.
Do you know why?
Because they're blue tacked.
They are all blue tack now. No one's moving.
Those action figures were of the time, very much of this time, aren't they?
They are.
It is. So who was in it? So Hogan was, Savage was, Warrior wasn't, Legion of Doom were, Greg the Hammer Valentine, $1 Million Man, Sid Justice, Kenny Omega was not in it, unfortunately, nor was Rob Gronkowski. However, the Genius was in the Royal Rumble, or not in the Royal Rumble, but at the event.
Yes,
he was on the pay-per-view. Are you surprised about how quick some of these guys are actually in the Rumble? Because, I mean, if you look at, we've got the order of elimination, the order of entry, and the order of elimination here. You look at someone like the Texas Tornado was in there for 9 minutes. You then look at Nikolai Volkov, 1 minute 3. Haku, 1 minute 51. Even going down to someone like the Superfly Jimmy Snuka, 227. Now, yeah, they were going over the hill at that point, but for name value, just having them in the Rumble and doing a couple of their moves would have been quite cool.
Yeah,
it was Ric Flair's story, though, wasn't it? It wasn't about those guys. They were just get out of the way, get them out. You know, there was a few that shined.
The interesting thing about the Rumble, though, is that Ric Flair did 5 eliminations that night, only outed by Psycho Sid Justice, who got 6.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, they were the 2 highest.
Cool. Between Hogan and Sid Justice, there was 10 eliminations each. There was no, not each. There was 10 eliminations. So wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot, isn't it?
I mean, I think that there were a couple of people who only lasted about a minute. So $1 Million Man, obviously Sags from the Nasty Boys, Haku, between a minute and 2 minutes. And I think the story there was Ric Flair came in and Bulldog would keep eliminating people. So it was just Bulldog and Flair in the ring, and Bulldog was just beating the crap out of Ric Flair. As soon as Ric Flair thinks he's going to get some help by someone like Sags or Haku, Bulldog beats them up, chucks them out, and then let the pounding continue. It's just to try and really kick the shit out of Ric Flair at the start of the match, just so you think he's got no way he's possibly going to win.
It's a shame that with the build-up of Bulldog there, and if they knew SummerSlam was at Wembley, I don't know if they did. They didn't have him go against Ric Flair and beat him at SummerSlam. That would have been something different, wouldn't it? It would have been quite cool. Bulldog versus Flair at SummerSlam.
Yeah, it would have been very different. It'd been intriguing to do a what if on that pay-per-view now and look at it and go, what would have happened if you had done, Savage versus Savage Warrior, wasn't it? But if you had done, Savage versus Brett and Bulldog versus Flair, or to kind of, because you don't really think about it. You just know about that iconic match of the Hitman Bret Hart against Bulldog and main eventing the pay-per-view as well, which was unheard of at that time.
No, that would have been good. Imagine that going against Ric, because Ric Flair didn't even wrestle at SummerSlam 92, did he?
No. He was almost so the story about, I mean, we'll get back onto the Royal Rumble in a minute, but the story behind that match was Warrior versus Savage, and whose corner was Mr. Perfect going to be in? And it was mind games between the two. Savage was convinced that Mr. Perfect was going to be in the Ultimate Warrior's corner and give him an advantage, and on the other side of things, each of them thought the other person were in cahoots with Mr. Perfect, and Ric Flair was almost acting in like a manager role for Mr. Perfect. It was a bit weird, but if I remember Ric Flair's book correctly, I think he had a problem with his inner ear or something affecting his balance, which is, that was going back and forth, which is why he didn't hold the belt that long after SummerSlam, because he won it from Savage right after SummerSlam, and then lost it almost immediately to Bret Hart because he was having this problem.
But also, you got to think about the fact that they had a built storyline from the Royal Rumble. Savage and the Nature Boy Ric Flair, because it was at WrestleMania 8, and we'll talk about that in a second, where the championship match happened, where Savage defeated Flair. For the belt in Indianapolis. But one thing that, as we're talking about Randy Savage, is one thing I wanted to pick up on: the feud between him and Jake Roberts, which you guys had already talked about on MOS, and check the archives on the iTunes feed for that. But they kept it alive at the Rumble.
Yeah. When did they do their rubber match to end the feud? Was it after this?
I'm trying to think. It was because
Undertaker was still a bad guy.
Yes, I think you're right. Yeah, he hadn't turned by this point, so it must have been the Saturday. Was it the same Saturday night's main event where Sid Justice finally turned on Hulk Hogan? So I think shortly after the Royal Rumble.
I'm not totally sure.
Yeah, Saturday night's main event, Berkeley says. Yeah, so it must have been the one sort of immediately after this, between this and WrestleMania.
That would have been what, Saturday night main event 30?
Yeah, like February, March 1992, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they made this big story about Randy Savage eliminating himself because he jumped over and attacked Jake Roberts. Where actually he didn't. It was and they corrected it, but it was this big thing, and you remember getting hooked into it, going, "Has Savage just screwed himself over?"
Yeah.
But then there wasn't that a mess up though. He had to do it on the fly. Oh no, he didn't eliminate himself. It was a mess up, wasn't it?
Yeah, because Heenan said, because people have done that before, haven't they? Where they have eliminated themselves. I remember the '89 Royal Rumble. Andre the Giant got scared of Jake the Snake bringing the snake in the ring, so he climbed over the top and eliminated himself. Whereas Bobby Heenan kind of covered it. So Savage leapt out over the top rope and they're like, "Oh my God, Savage is out too!" And then Heenan says, "No. I believe this is one of the rules of the Royal Rumble. You have to physically be thrown out to be eliminated." So it kind of covered it, and then that's been a thing from that point onwards, that you have to be physically thrown out of the Royal Rumble to be eliminated.
And then both feet had to touch the floor. Yeah, exactly.
That was all up in the '95 Rumble with Shawn Michaels.
Speaking about the '95 Rumble, the second Rumble where the Bulldog started at number 1.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. And Bulldog almost went all the way to the end, or did go all the way to the end.
He was great around that time. Bulldog was my favourite. He just ginormous, but moved around so good.
Yeah, he moved around like a cruiserweight, didn't he?
Ginormous man.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the finish of the pay-per-view. Let's talk about the ending of the Rumble match, because it came down to Sid Justice and the Nature Boy Ric Flair, and then the assist by Hogan in eliminating Sid, which means Flair wins the belt, and then you get that big pull apart between Hogan and Psycho Sid. And Sid's gone on record saying that Hogan bitched, cried, and moaned about it backstage for years.
Yeah. So I mean, it went down with Hulk Hogan was fighting with Ric Flair, just sort of trying to get each other out of the ring. Justice sneaks up behind and eliminates Hogan. Ric Flair hangs on to the ring apron and doesn't get eliminated. Hogan immediately stands up and it's like, "Why'd you eliminate me? I thought we were friends."
Yeah, can't do that.
Yeah, which is and if you listen to, I'm not sure what version they've got on the network, but the original VHS video of this, and if you watch the event, there was an absolute eruption of cheers when Sid Justice eliminated Hogan, and this is when you started to sort of see that Hulk Hogan was losing a bit of popularity, and they wanted a new face, and everyone cheered Justice, but they dubbed over it in recent releases, and it basically was that they wanted to make Hulk Hogan look good, even though he's all about train, say your prayers, eat your vitamins. He's the clean cut baby face. He still couldn't stand it that someone had chucked him out, and so then grabbed Sid Justice's hand to pull him out. Ric Flair by that point had recovered and got under Justice's legs, flipped him out, and there we go.
I like the production value of this because it was zoomed in hard on Sid, and you didn't know Hogan was still about, and he was like, "I gotcha," and all of a sudden it's like he's like, "What?" and he pulls Sid out. And then obviously, then it pans out. Great production there. No, you don't notice Hogan's going to grab Sid's arm until it like zooms out. But he's already got hold of him when the zoom out happens. Very, very good. Yeah, that was good. I like. Well, great. This Royal Rumble was the best. Best Royal Rumble.
Absolutely. It still stands the test of time. You can still watch it now and enjoy it, thinking, some of them unfortunately are no longer with us. And if you look at the list, you can see who. But it was just an entertaining Rumble match from beginning to end. It didn't feel like an hour.
No,
that you were watching it.
Free on YouTube as well.
Pardon?
It's all free on YouTube. This whole Royal Rumble is free on the WWE.
Rumble match, on the WWE channel. You can go and watch it now and enjoy the Rumble match. Enjoy it while we're talking about it. Put us back on. Play us again in the archive
in the background.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I want to touch on. 2 things before we wrap up is Bobby the Brain Heenan. Now, I know in 2 weeks, Lee, you're coming on to do the great debate between Heenan and Jim Cornette, and you're pro Heenan. But Bobby Heenan was absolutely on fire in this pay-per-view.
Yeah. Yeah, it really made the pay-per-view. I mean, the amount of talent that you've got in that ring over the space of the hour, along with Bobby the Brain Heenan and his interaction with Gorilla Monsoon. Of course, Heenan being was he the executive consultant, or I can't remember what his official title was. So Gorilla was the face, Bobby Heenan was the heel. He wanted Ric Flair to win, and he was right at the start before they announced any of the entrants. He was really nervous. He didn't know who was going to come out. Then when Ric Flair comes out, he's immediately no into the microphone, and then you can tell he's a bit freaked out, and Gorilla's like, it's all right, it's fine, he's in the ring now, there's no chance he's going to win. And you sort of hear him start to compose himself. It's fine, Mr. Perfect's gone prepared, it'll be okay. And then Haku comes to the ring, obviously a Bobby the Brain Heenan protege, a member of the Heenan family. Oh, thank goodness, Haku, he's there, he's in the ring. And you then Haku turns on Flair. What the hell are you doing, Haku? and just the whole way through, following Ric Flair and what he's doing. So excited at the end, just shouting yes, yes, yes into the microphone, and then wandering down to meet Ric Flair in the aisleway after the match finishes. It was the Bobby Heenan show on top of what was already a stellar cast of wrestlers from the 80s and 90s.
Absolutely. Mr. Priceless has put in the chat room, Bobby Heenan throughout the Rumble, soon as Flair came out, bigging him up, backing the winner, literally calling his shot, and he wasn't wrong. And there were some great one-liners like, if Flair wins, I won't be nasty to anyone ever again. I'll be nice. Get me a drink, peon. It was Bobby Heenan to a T. And then they go backstage with the promo.
Yes, the Flair,
promo. It's here in the eye, Gene. Yeah. This is the greatest.
Put that cigarette out.
So good.
It's a cool line, isn't it? Absolutely fantastic. So where does it stand? We've talked about it being one of the most iconic Royal Rumbles, but where does it stand in history?
Greatest Royal Rumble of all time, absolutely, in my opinion.
What, not the one that took place in Saudi Arabia?
That's a good one too.
Just because it was called the Greatest Royal Rumble doesn't make it the Greatest Royal Rumble. No, for me, it's number one. No comparison. There have been some other good ones out there. 95 with Shawn was great, and 96 as well. But it's so old school, and it's my era as well. You know, I love all the people in this Royal Rumble. So for me, you can't beat this one.
The Gruff is saying the same one. Best one for him. Bericles is saying 2001 is second.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much.
I
right.
like 2002. 2002 because Mr. Perfect came back.
Gotta love Mr. Perfect.
I like that. I always liked 2002 because it's a great time, and also had Vince McMahon versus Ric Flair, which is first Fed match in there. I always liked 2002, but I love 2002. It's a great year for wrestling for me. 20 years ago. My God, 20 years ago. No, I love. Second. No, this one is amazing when you watch it and the whole Bobby Heenan. For me, it's more about Bobby Heenan, really. If Bobby Heenan wasn't commentating, and it was Vince and Gorilla or something like that, it wouldn't have been as good. Bobby Heenan made this match. I feel as much as Ric Flair done all the physical stuff, Bobby Heenan made it be what it should have been. I think. And,
I think.
So good.
Yeah, they're the two that keep you entertained, aren't they? The commentators are the one that tell the story. They're the guys in the ring are the one who do the actions, but they get you engrossed and tell the story, and you believe in them. But Heenan and Gorilla were just best friends anyway, and we all know that.
Yeah.
And that came across. But what about Jack Tunney, the most hated man in professional wrestling?
The least amount of charisma ever. Considering he's in a building full of people wearing like pink, bright green, leopard print, and then you got this guy on telly. Yes, well done.
I would like to say in closing, may the best man win.
Yeah.
Thank you, Howard.
Yeah. So boring.
It's a bit like when they brought Robin Leach out at WrestleMania 4.
Oh, yeah.
The lifestyle of the rich and famous. Now, a bit of trivia for you guys. In the book, To Be the Man, Ric Flair mentions that he didn't know he was going to be winning the Rumble until arriving at the arena on the day of the event. He felt he was brought in at number 3 in order to showcase his skills and endurance to the Federation audience, who may have not watched his work in Jim Crockett or WCW. Bobby Heenan mentioned in his biography, Bobby the Brain, that it was his initial suggestion that Flair enters the Rumble at number 1 for dramatic purposes, and that Vince changed it to number 3, and in typical Vince style, claimed it as his own idea.
Why would he not come in at 1 or 2 though? That's the whole point. What was the point in him coming in at,
I think it
3?
would have been obvious if they'd have put him in at number 1. But the fact he's in at 3, he's only in 2 minutes after the people who started it. So he's still got to last a ridiculous amount of time, but it's not quite as obviously pre-booked and staged if he's done number 1.
Right.
But the drama is there, isn't it?
Yeah. Because everyone was like, what would happen if Ric Flair got number 1? There's no chance he's ever going to win. So Bulldog and DiBiase come out to start at 1 and 2 and think, Ric Flair's not number 1. Okay, so he might actually have a chance of winning. Oh my God, he's number 3. And it's a bit of a roller coaster.
So the one thing that got me about this pay-per-view was if you watch the network showing of it or the original VHS, they go halfway through the show, they go to a backstage segment with Lord Alfred Hayes. which is exclusive Coliseum video with Nature Boy.
Yeah.
And he goes, "What number did you draw?" "I drew number 3.
Oh,
Right? So they announced it. And then on the pay-per-view, obviously Bobby Heenan's acting like he didn't know. So we already know that Flair's coming in at number 3, and Bobby Heenan's
Right.
selling it as though I've got no idea.
Yeah.
It's tremendous.
Interesting. But then again, didn't he say at some point during the commentary that he's been out doing in the show, and he's not spoken to Flair, so he doesn't know. So they've kind of incorporated that. But again, it's interesting that Heenan doesn't know, but everyone else does.
Yeah. Just another little dynamic. So let's talk about the aftermath and what happened after the Royal Rumble. On Superstars that aired on January the 25th, Jack Tunney held a press conference. Good old WWF, where he announced that Hulk Hogan would have faced Ric Flair for the WWF Championship at WrestleMania 8. Justice was in attendance and began standing up as if Tunney were about to proclaim him the number 1 contender. Outraged, and termed the announcement the most bogus act that Jack Tunney has ever pulled off. And he's done a few. Sid later apologized and Hogan accepted, but on the February 8th Saturday Night Main Event 30, Justice abandoned Hogan during a tag team match against Flair and The Undertaker, completing his heel turn and leading to a match at WrestleMania 8, which we also saw the return of the Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah.
In that match as well.
Wow.
Flair, meanwhile, began a feud with the Macho Man Randy Savage over the Heavyweight Championship. According to the storyline, Flair claimed he'd had a relationship with Savage's wife, the lovely Miss Elizabeth, going as far as presenting photos of him and Liz, which had been photoshopped or superimposed. Culminating the title match at WrestleMania 8, Savage won the match and was his second and final WWF Championship win. And of course, a story that's now being repeated in GCW with Joey Janela, Matt Cardona, and Chelsea Green.
Absolutely. 30 years to the week. I mean, how weird is that?
You got to think that's a bit of Matt Cardona there. You know, being a wrestling historian, right?
He loves all that old stuff.
But that's the aftermath of the Royal Rumble. That's where we were going next in March in Indianapolis at the Hoosier Dome.
Yeah, amazing. And some controversy around, obviously it isn't a WrestleMania 8 show, but interestingly, it was when they brought Sid Justice in, apparently Vince promised him at that point he was going to be in the main event of WrestleMania 8. So that's why they had to do a bit of the switch around, and they had the match with Hogan, and they put Ric Flair in the match with Randy Savage for the WWF Championship. That's why they had to shuffle things around a little bit. And we never got that Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan main event WrestleMania match.
No. But it was a Bash at the Beach 2 years later, and the biggest selling pay-per-view ever. One of them, wasn't it? It was huge for WWE.
Yeah, that's because Mr. T was there.
Yes, and Shaq.
Yeah, gotta love Shaq.
God, Shaq's first appearance in professional wrestling.
yeah, but that was huge. They should have done it at WWE at WrestleMania 8 and had Flair win. Maybe that might have been interesting.
That would have
parallel universe of wrestling.
Solidified him as the greatest of all time.
Yeah. And then Bulldog beats Flair. That's SummerSlam too.
Wow.
And then wrestling wins.
Gents, that's it for this week for the Royal Rumble. Thank you so much for joining me. Next week, before we go, let's do a quick bit of a promotion. Next week, join us here live across the Information Superhighway as we will be talking all things Battlestar Galactica, the original series with Dirk Benedict, Lorne Green, and Richard Hatch. So that's next Wednesday, the 26th of January at 8 o'clock. You can follow us on all of the social media platforms, Instagram, Twitch, Facebook at retrochatpod. Tweet us using the hashtag #BackInTime. And you can watch us on YouTube and download the podcast as well. But this Sunday, you guys are back in action as well, aren't you?
We are. I'm sure we'll talk about some wrestling sometimes, Lee.
Well, key thing is, we plan the show as we go through the week. It's only Wednesday, so we haven't really started that yet. There's already some good topics that we're going to be talking about this week in wrestling history. Obviously, it is Rumble season, so we are going to be talking about that. But obviously, it's GCW at the Hammerstein Ballroom this coming Sunday. We're going to be giving a preview of that show, talking about that. I've already bought the pay-per-view, Andy. I think you have as well.
I have as well.
It's going to be interesting to see what's been announced. I think we get the return of Jeff Jarrett to the ring. Matt Cardona is going to be there. John Moxley. It's going to be huge. What a great event. Hopefully it will live up to the hype.
And that'd be good. Looking forward to watching that.
It's going to be a good one. Now, if you want to get in contact with the MOS Network, you can across all the social media, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter at the MOS Network. It's very straightforward, yours, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
Why do we do it individually? When I read the show plan out, I say, join us on Facebook, facebook.com/the MOS Network, youtube.com.
It's a good idea to do it.
I should have just done it like that. Andy's beat us to a trick here.
No, I like it, Lee. You know, it's good.
Yeah. I'm old. If you want to contact the Ministry of Slam, the show account on Twitter, you can do. All you need to do is head over to Ministry of Slam on Twitter. You can download the podcast on all good podcast providers, released every Monday, Ministry of Slam, and the Retro Chat feed as well. And we'll be putting Retro Chat up every Thursday on Retro Chat and Ministry of Slam.
Yeah.
Still getting very
and thanks to all the podcast listeners. Those guys are great.
They are great.
You guys have done amazingly this week, haven't you? Sandwiched in between the bump and Steve Austin.
Stone Cold Steve Austin. That's the bottom line, Steve Austin, because the sandwich tastes nice being in the middle of that.
Just ask the franchise.
We're the filling. Yeah, sponsored by Sandwiches.
With the filling of the WB and Stone Cold Steve Austin sandwich. Yeah. What more delicious taste would you want?
Absolutely.
Liam,
if you want more content from Lee and Lawrence, me, Martin, and someone else who we can't remember his name, then check out the MOS Classics feed every Friday on the Ministry of Slam podcast feed, and you can hear all of us talking stuff 12 years ago.
Crazy time. You occasionally hear Lawrence on it.
Yeah, I don't. I got no idea what you guys are talking about half the time. It took me months to learn what TNA was. I was like, what? How do I even watch this?
In fairness, Lawrence, it took us months to learn what TNA was as well, and we were watching it for years.
Yeah,
I still don't think TNA really knows what it is now. So
no.
Anyway,
I don't either.
Question, Andy, before next week, can you remember the Battlestar Galactica theme song?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. Well done, Andy. That's awesome. That's so good. I used to look. So it was Starbuck. No, Starbuck was in that, wasn't he?
He was.
There was that with the robot that went minute. No,
that was Lost in Space, mate.
No, there was another one with Buck Rogers. No, I don't know.
You're thinking there was
Mimi.
There was the Cylons, and in Battlestar Galactica, you had that like bear dog thing.
A little thing like minute.
Yeah, what was that?
Okay, I'll tell you a little bit of trivia. I'll give you a bit of a sneak preview of next week's show.
That was Buck Rogers, Penn still says.
That was Buck Rogers, yeah. Boxer, Boxer was actually a monkey.
Oh
no!
Legitimately, it was a real monkey in a bear suit.
That's really upsetting.
Why didn't they just have a monkey?
They just stuck it in just have a monkey.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
I only found this out last week when I was doing some research for the show.
Space monkey.
Dirk Benedict didn't come back to Battlestar 80 because he didn't want to.
Don't spoil your show next week, Andy.
I won't.
And there'll be other facts for next week.
Exactly. That's your hook for next week's show. Guys, thanks so much for joining me for Retro Chat Live.
It has been a pleasure
here on the MOS Network. It's been good. It's been fun.
And thanks for being part of the MOS Network now, Andy. Retro
Absolutely.
Chat. It's great.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. And exciting times.
Absolutely. Now, stay tuned to MOS Network for more good stuff from all of the guys and from us here at Retro Chat. And on that note, stay with me for just a moment. We will see you all next week. But until then, take care.
Bon nuit.
Bye.
Bye.